What's up, everyone? My name's William, and today we're going to be going over the retro synth that's included with Logic. Right off the bat, one thing that's really cool about retro synth is it actually includes 4 audio engines. We have an analog audio engine, a sync, a table, and an FM audio engine. All really cool things. One thing I typically go over is the oscillator first, but I'm actually going to go over all of these other parameters first, because if you look when we're switching the engines, the only thing that's changing between these engines is the oscillators. So everything else stays the same. The filter's the same, the amp, the effect, and all the envelopes. So starting off, we're gonna be working in the analog engine for right now. This is what the sound sounds like. This is just the factory default setting, and here's the sound we have right now. So you can hear what that sounds like. It's a saw wave. It's just 2 saw waves mixing together. So right here we have our filter, and we can change what type of filter we have. There's low pass, high pass, things like that. We'll just leave it on the one we have right now. We have a key slider here. We have, of course, our cutoff and resonance, which you can click and drag like this. Or if you want, you can actually just click and drag this dot and move it around freely, which is nice to do sometimes, so you don't have to worry about changing each value independently. Over here we have our filter FM knob, which changes it from static to listening to the filter envelope we have down here. This is also the LFO, depending on how intense the LFO is affecting the cutoff here. And then we also have the envelope, which is related to the intensity of the envelope down here, the filter envelope as well. So, adjusting this, it's cutting off those frequencies and things like that. Moving on to the next tab, we have the amp over here, and we have just a basic volume overall. Of what it sounds like. Next we have a sine level down here, which it actually adds a sine wave to the sound, and it brings out some more qualities, and it makes it a little bit fatter when we turn that up. Next we have this effect tab, which we can choose between a chorus or flanger, and again this is the same between all of these audio engines. We're just sticking in the analog audio engine right now, and then you just determine how much mixture you want. If you want it to be all 100% wet signal or 0% dry signal, you can use this slider or this knob to change that. One thing you do have to watch out for, though, is if you do want this effect on, you're going to have to turn it on with the power button here. And then the next thing, so here, let me show you what the flanger sounds like, so we can just hear what it sounds like. So that's what we have right now. I'm going to just start turning this up. So that's what it sounds like at 100% affected. I'm going to start messing with this rate knob, which will change the rate of the flanger effect. So that sounds pretty cool. And again, it's the same thing for all of these tabs, and it's the same parameters for the chorus too. It just it saves them independently of each other. It'll remember what we had for the flanger and what we have for the chorus. Although you can only have one of these at the same time. So that's some cool effects we have there. Moving on to the bottom portion, these are our modulating our modulation tabs. We have an LFO, a vibrato here, and we can change the wave shape of these things, and then we can also change the rate of the speed of them, and we can turn sync on or off. Sync off just means it's in hertz, the rate is in hertz, and then sync on, it will sync to the actual BPM we have. Right here we have a slider that we can adjust to want it to listen to the mod wheel, aftertouch, or both of them. So vibrato and LFO act fairly similar to how they are on the on this tab right here. Next we have this filter envelope, and This is the envelope for how the filter will react. We can have an attack for the filter, sustain. It's a basic ADSR for this, and then we also have this slider right here for velocity. Next to that, we have the amp envelope, which is the overall envelope for the entire synth, which we can adjust the attack. So if we turn this attack all the way up for the, or well, let's not turn it all the way up. That's a little extreme. But let's just make this attack a little bit longer, and now I can hear it'll sound like it has that slow rise. If we made it shorter, even longer. And so that's what this is. It's an ADSR for the actual amp. All the way on the left, we have this glide section here, which we've used glide before, or you can have auto bend for pitch bend. And this is just, you set the time for the glide, what oscillators it's affecting, and then also for this you can have a depth here for how many semitones of a bend range, how much of a bend range you want. Moving on, we have some, if we click on the settings buttons, we have some global parameters here, some transposing, fine-tuning, bending, voices, things like that. And then over here we have some controller settings that we can have. We can have controllers controlling different things. But so now going to the oscillator section. For the analog, we have two different oscillators. We can just adjust the shape of both of them. And then all of these knobs are affecting shape 2. So we can put the modulation on shape 2, the vibrato, the semitones that we want it to change. And we can also have the fine-tuned sense on that. And then, of course, we have this mix slider here where we can adjust the mix between the oscillator 1 and oscillator 2. Next, moving on to the sync engine, the oscillator is pretty much the same, except rather than having the semitones and sense knob, we have this sync knob and sync modulation knob, which it'll change the modulation of the sync here. Next, we have the table audio engine, which it just provides different sounds. We have shape modulation, and you can change this from shape to formant, vibrato again, the semitone, sense, and then we can change the table here, actually, the wave table, and there's a whole bunch of different options, and you can get some really interesting sounds from this table here. It's all generally the same. The audio engines are all generally the same. It's just the type of synthesis really that's happening here. And excuse me. Next, and last but not least, we have FM, which stands for frequency modulation. So we have vibrato here that we can adjust, the modulation, whether or not we want more FM or harmonic tones, and then we can adjust these accordingly. And then we have some inharmonics, shape, and then we have the mix and carrier that we can slide between here. But that's pretty much it for this synth. Definitely go through some of these presets. There's a ton of presets for this synthesizer since it's so versatile, since it has the 4 audio engines here. You know, there's pads, there's basses, there's leads, strings, keyboards, brass, elements, sequence elements, and warped synths. So all really cool things. Definitely check them out, explore this some more. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned a lot. Thanks for watching.